I'm Mike Marsh, and this is True. Today's article, How the Sausage is Made. Is there any food more delicious than sausage? According to a study by Harold Banger and Aarti Kofta and published in the Journal of World Life Sciences in 2022, the answer is no. This study also highlights that all cultures worldwide, with the exception of the Danish, have some sort of sausage. This is perhaps unsurprising, as sausage is a practical way to use scraps of meat, vegetables, fruits, and anything else edible, as well as less palatable pieces such as organs and kale that might otherwise be discarded. Sausages date back to the Paleolithic Nile River basin, where snakes were roasted over a fire while flatbread was baked on rocks placed next to the fire. The snakes were then rolled in the flatbread, making a fun and easy-to-eat meal, particularly for picky children. This was such a central part of the region's diet for such a long time that many of the Egyptian hieroglyphs relating to food, like cook and provisions, feature serpent-like glyphs. It took roughly 3 centuries for sausages to progress from whole roasted snakes to shed snake skins stuffed with other ingredients. See Loretta Frank's 1978 book, History of Sausage. Initially, Paleolithic cooks would tie one end of a shed skin, sweep in the scraps from preparing other dishes, and then tie the other end off. As shed snake skins tend to get brittle rapidly, these skins were generally soaked in water or beer to restore their plasticity. We can infer how this innovation was received from a famous cave painting. While this is an audio medium, we will attempt to describe the images, though you will likely remember the iconic scene as shown on the popular television program Weird Old World. In the first image, a woman has her back turned to a group of compatriots sitting around a fire. She is filling a casing with small items. In the next image, she turns to the fire, placing the item over it, while the assembled crowd is shown with their arms in the air and an image of a snake above them. The third image shows the woman distributing pieces of the cooked sausage to the others, who now hold spears or similar weapons in a threatening manner. The penultimate image shows the others in a posture resembling a shrug with squiggly lines around their midsections. The final image shows all eating the pieces of sausage. From this, anthropologists believe that the ancient diners believed they were about to be served snake, became upset when they learned they had been tricked, but by that point were too hungry to care and ate the preferred sausages. These stuffed skin sausages were an important practical development as a way to maximize nutritional value, especially from large kills, where it was essential to make use of as much of the animal as possible. While lacking the distinctive crunch of the original version, these skin-cased sausages had numerous advantages. In addition to their utility in reducing food waste, they were easy to season with various herbs and spices, which is much harder to do with an entire snake. It was also generally easier to find shed skins than trap live snakes, and a single snake could produce multiple skins over its lifetime, while it is notoriously difficult to eat an animal more than once. The Swahili word for snake, nyoka, spread throughout Europe. In what is now Germany, the inhabitants, not knowing the original meaning of the word nyoka, started referring to sausage as nyoka worms, which eventually became knockwurst. In the Italian peninsula, in addition to their incredible array of preserved meats, people began making gnocca of dough, which were then cut into small pieces and boiled, and soon came to be called gnocchi. These are often served with a gorgonzola sauce and prosciutto di Parma, which is not a sausage, though you could eat them with salami if you were truly committed to culinary etymology. As snake case moved north through Europe, shed snake skins became harder to find. Pigs, however, were not, so the obvious choice was to substitute pig intestines as casings. another century passed before cooks figured out how to clean out the intestines before use, which made sausages even more popular. The use of pig intestine casing migrated back south, almost completely replacing snakeskin in sausage making. The one exception is Italian soppressata, which to this day is still made in the traditional way with snakeskin. The history of soppressata is covered in detail by Letizia Alessio's 2004 book Carne Suprema, translated into English as The Greatest Meat. Soppressata derives from the Latin subtersatus, which translates to less than enough. It has this name because it is the very best of the Italian sausages, so one can never get enough of it. After the Tripolitanian War, Italy was in such dire economic straits that it was common for people to cut coins, or pezzettos, of soppressata to use in trade, as it was both more valuable and more readily available than lira. As conditions worsened during World War I, this practice was stopped as people needed them as food more than they needed them as money. After World War II, when conditions improved considerably, these pezzettos were often used as toppings for focaccia to commemorate the important role they played over the previous few decades. This dish soon came to be called pizza, which you might have tried if you've been to an Italian restaurant, though often these pizzas do not have any kind of sausage on them at all. Another change arose in Scotland, see Fraser MacKenna's 1958 book, A Brief History of Scottish Cuisine, where as a dare, a Scottish cook tried stuffing meat in a sheep's stomach, filled out with oats, and served it to some friends. The first person to try this new dish quickly ran out to the privy, where he was heard to exclaim something that sounded like, "Haggis!" This immediately became the name for this dish, though over many years the recipe was eventually improved to the point where it is actually good. Haggis is particularly good with baked potato. Baked potatoes were introduced to Scotland by John Gerard as he travelled Great Britain after his escape from the Tower of London, where he met and often conversed with fellow prisoner Sir Walter Raleigh. Raleigh had brought potatoes back from the Americas and began cultivating them on his Irish properties, but he was generally a passionate advocate of potatoes to anyone who would listen to him. Agnes Blackman collects much of the extant communications on this topic in her 1935 biography of Gerard. Sausages have been a vital part of human culture for almost as long as there have been humans. They have inspired art, from prehistoric cave paintings to Renaissance still lifes to modern pop art. They have formed a cornerstone of meals when paired with flatbreads, to potatoes, to bread made of potatoes. The United Nations estimates that over 1 billion sausages are consumed every day, with more than half of those being eaten beyond the Chicago exurbs. So enjoy sausage today, whether whole on a bun, sliced and sautéed in a pasta dish, or even on a stick. And remember the distinguished history of humanity's favorite meat product. This has been True. Find us online at www.truecast.com. References for this episode are in the show notes. If you enjoy the podcast, please rate and review it wherever you listen, or just tell a friend. Our theme song is Bouncy by Sean McMullen from his album Everything. You can find more of his music online at www.sofadogstudio.com.